What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wrestling Junkies podcast. I'm Eric, Mr. Cincinnati Robinson, and as always, I'm joined by the podcast dad himself, the very tired podcast dad himself, Chris Hoops. Choops, how you feeling, man?
The time change is killing me, but it is time to do something I love. We get to talk to an actual real life wrestler, so don't let me talk too much.
Look at you being wanting to be quiet. I appreciate that. Yeah, our next guest is not only a Hoosier, but also a second-generation wrestler that is a graduate of the Limitless Dojo. He's competed for Let's Wrestle and Brewer Maine, as well as Crown of Maine Wrestling. Everybody give it up for Big Country Jason Maverick. Jason, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm doing.
Oh,
I've got some hardware right here. I think
oh,
Do
I'm
tell.
doing pretty good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, what we
yes.
got here?
Yes. So this right here is the Crown of Maine Hardcore Championship that I defeated
Ooh.
the Hardcore Maniac. They like to call him JP O'Reilly, but he's no. I guess you can call me the Hardcore Maniac now. I mean,
I like
what
it.
Man,
Okay.
took the title and the name. How you like
Yes,
that?
sir.
I like it. I like it. The trend of champions on this show continues, and we're certainly going to come back to that. But let's get back to basics here. So, here at the Wrestling Junkies podcast, wrestlers are superheroes, supervillains. They all have origin stories. So, if you could, and this is going to be a bit of an interesting origin story because you were born into the wrestling business. But tell us what your earliest memories are of pro wrestling.
Well, just like every other wrestler, I grew up a fan. I started watching, late Attitude Era with my father, and it just grew from there.
Nice. Who are some of your favorites growing up?
Let's see here. Kurt Angle is my all-time favorite.
Nice.
Okay.
I liked Orton. I liked Edge, Triple H, Cena, the big guys. I was also a big Benoit fan, but you can't really say that these days without getting insulted. But yeah, those were the guys that I grew up watching that I really liked. Nowadays, it's guys like Samoa Joe and Keith Lee. I really love their work, and yeah, it's the big boy wrestling. That's
Yeah.
just what I'm in for now.
Okay, so you're a
Love
meat
it.
fan, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, big boys. I like to see big boys slapping meat in the ring, man. Especially nowadays, man. You got them big guys in there. They fly around like cruiserweights. So
Yeah, seriously.
it's impressive.
It's crazy. So your dad is Joey Maverick. When did you first realize kind of what your dad did for a living?
So he was actually a referee. His name's Joey Gleitz. So he did a lot of backyard wrestling whenever I was little, and then he moved up to Maine, and that's where he got into the wrestling business. So I just kind of moved up here about 6 years ago, and that's where my journey began.
Okay. Okay. Did you ever have any reservations about following your dad's footsteps into the wrestling industry?
See, the thing is, I didn't see my dad for 11 years, and that was just a big hassle between my parents that happened. But once I was old enough and I moved up here, he's the one. He's like, hey, I got a show this weekend. I can, hook you up with the promoter. He can get you started
Yeah.
training. I'm like, sweet, okay, cool. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I like it.
it's been an uphill battle for about 6 years now, and starting to get comfortable.
Nice.
nice.
That's awesome.
How are you trying to? And this may be kind of a complicated question. How are you kind of honoring your dad's legacy in the business, kind of, and how are you creating your own path?
See, that's the thing. I'm trying my best not to be mentioned as in the same category as my father because just like everybody else, you don't want to be in the person before you shadow. So like, I'm not trying to be known as Joey's son. I'm trying to be known as Jason Maverick, and I think I'm doing very well at that so far. My first match ever actually was against him in September of 2018, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into that because
Yeah.
you know you don't ever expect to wrestle your parents,
Yeah.
but wrestling your parents on your first match ever, that was a lot.
So tell us a little bit about that match.
Yeah, did he lay it
I don't
in?
really. I was super green and I didn't know what I was doing. And my dad, he was usually a ref, but when they needed a jobber, he was the guy that they went to. So they put a jobber up against a super green Jason Maverick at the time, and it just wasn't very good at all. I'll
Yikes.
admit it was not.
Who won?
Uh it was actually a double disqualification.
Oh,
Oh,
So we
look
ended
at
up
that.
getting into a hockey fight. My dad shoved the referee. The referee come back in, and he tried separating us again. Well, then I pushed the referee, and then he just called for the double DQ.
okay.
Gotta have
Okay.
better ref discretion on that one, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even Ray and Dom got a little discretion last year at WrestleMania.
right.
Yeah, yes, they
Yep.
did.
But you've already kind of alluded to it that you've always been seen as Joey's son. How do you balance any expectations that may exist that come with being a second generation wrestler with your own personal goals and aspirations for the wrestling business?
Well, now it's just me on my own. I mean, my father passed away going on 4 years ago, so ever since then it's just been me on my own. I mean, Let's Wrestle will do a Joey Gleich Memorial Battle Royal every year, and the winner of that will get a shot at the Let's Wrestle Championship. So, I mean, that's how they're remembering him. I choose not to take part in that match because it can go one or two ways. If I'm in the match, they expect me to win, and if I win the
Mhm.
match, they're like, "Oh, it's biased." So,
Yeah,
I've chosen. I'm not going to participate.
sure. That's fair.
Yeah,
Understandable.
yeah. So let's take a different turn here. What do you think is key to connecting with the audience, and what do you do to make sure that the audience knows you're in the ring and man, we got to watch Jason right now?
It's connecting with the crowd. Just a few months ago, I was the heel.
Mm-hmm.
And people in the crowd would be talking smack. I talk that smack right back to them. I'd be making
Yeah.
my interest. I get right up in their face, and they love it. But then you have them certain few fans who's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to swing on you, and I'm like, dude, sit down. You don't want any of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the fans up here, they get to know us over time. So like they see us, after the shows, hanging out at a bar or whatever, and they just get to know you, whether it's personally or just at a show. They get to know you, and
Yeah.
they decide whether they like you or not. When I turned heel, it took me a little bit to get the wheels going under that, but once I got them, I got them. So
What
it's
do you prefer working, heel or baby?
heel, but I mean I don't mind working either one. That just the heel's my preference.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
seems like a lot of wrestlers will say, it's certainly easier to work heel because it's easy to find reasons to dislike somebody. But you were saying it kind of took you a while to get used to or get comfortable with being heel. What do you think that what created the challenge as you were learning to embrace this new character change?
just getting comfortable in the role, really, because you go from being super liked and super over to not actually understanding at first how to get the crowd in the palm of your hand where they're not liking you. So
Yeah.
that's a difficult piece to it. You just gotta learn with it, really.
Okay. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, so let's transition away from the character work. Let's talk the in-ring style here. So you recently competed in Let's Wrestle's first ever Hoss fight against Matthew St. James. As a big man, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of working with somebody that's got that similar size and stature that you do?
Well, disadvantage is as a big guy, I'm not going to have the advantage. I've got a guy in there that's the same size as I am, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in there week after week with guys that are smaller than you. It's easy. It's David and Goliath. I can be throwing them around and whatnot. They're going to have to work harder to get up on me. But I feel like when I'm working a hoss like myself, man, I got to work just as hard because I got to knock him off his feet too.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
Oh,
yeah,
So
for sure.
what would you say are some advantages to there being a Hoss fight for example?
there's not a lot of flippy stuff going on. Yeah, I enjoy the ground. I enjoy the ground and pound. I enjoy the brawling, but you will never see me doing any flippy stuff. And I don't know. It's easy to catch the smaller guys when they're doing it, but I'm not going to do it.
Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair. So you competed in a tag team match against WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas in 2022.
Yes.
What are some tips for wrestlers when that opportunity comes of you're wrestling somebody that's been on the big time stage? I mean, Hall of Famer. Like, what did you do, and then what advice would you give to those wrestlers? Like, how do you take advantage of that situation?
Just listen. Listen to what they're telling you. Obviously, they've been to the big time before, so they know what they're talking about. Always keep your ears open, always listen, and just be respectful. Because those big time wrestlers, they have connections to people. So
Yeah.
like say if I wanted to reach out to I don't know, Green APW, Atlantic Pro Wrestling, down in Massachusetts or New Hampshire. I'm not sure which one it is. They'd be like, "Yeah, you got anybody to refer you?" I'm like, "Yeah, Tony Atlas." They can call Tony Atlas and be like, "Yeah, he's a good listener. He's a good worker. Yada yada yada. Whatever it is that he's got to say." So I just think having guys like that, they can help you move forward in the business.
I like it.
What are your best memories from that match? Like, how was it working with him?
I've worked a couple of matches with Tony. I've teamed with
Nice.
Tony. I don't remember being against Tony. That one jogs my memory. I don't remember that one. But I have teamed with Tony and it was fun.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. So you have a match coming up for the Let's Wrestle Championship against Brett Ryan Goslin. This isn't the first time that you've shared the ring with the King of Kenergy. Tell us a bit about the history of this rivalry and what you see for the future of this rivalry.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, no, of course. So tell us a little bit about the history of this rivalry with Brett Goslin, and then what do you see for the future of this rivalry?
So first of all, I will go on the record and say I have the absolute most respect for Brett Goslin in the matter of he's the one who pushed me to go to the Limitless Dojo and get the right training. And honestly, if it wasn't for Brett Goslin, I wouldn't be where I am today. In the aspect of our feud, the first match we had, I won the Let's Rumble of 2023. I overcame the other 29 other guys in there. Uh, we had a build up. There was a big pull apart, right? I talked some smack. He talked some smack back. I unfortunately got too cocky in that match, and it costed me the win. So he started doing some antics that I wasn't really appreciative of, and then he started bringing my dad into the equation.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
right when he started doing that is when our rivalry reignited. Um, what did you say? Brett was now the king of Kinergy. Is that new?
Yeah. That's
I haven't
that
heard
is
that.
yeah. That is very much in his Twitter bio these days. Yes.
He should have just stuck with Victorious BRG, honestly. I don't know. I've seen him coming out with some big old pimp coat on and some sunglasses, and he's bleached his hair like Ken the Barbie guy or something. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't know if he's going through a midlife crisis. But I do know that on May the 4th, I will be taking the Let's Wrestle Championship off of his waist, and it will be on the shoulders of Big Country Jason Maverick.
Yeah,
I like it.
Add another title to that collection, and then maybe you can become the king of Kenergy.
I don't know about that.
All right. So we've talked about you for a little bit. Let's talk about some other guys and gals out there on the indie scene that us wrestling fans probably need to pay a little bit more attention to.
Mm-hmm. There's one guy on the top of my list that I'd absolutely love to wrestle. He's based out of Louisville, Kentucky. He competes on OVW. His name is Big Beef Gnarls Garvin. I don't know if y'all
Okay.
have heard.
Yeah.
He's a big dude too. I was first introduced to him at the Limitless show up here, and hearing that he's from Louisville, Kentucky, that's about 45 minutes from where I grew up. So that right there automatically made me think, I want to get in the ring with this guy. And just seeing how he wrestles and seeing how he works, I'm like, I've got to get in there with that guy. Another guy I'd like to get into, another Hoss. You might know him from Impact Wrestling a few years back. AC Baby Ace Romero.
Yep.
You know, I've trained under him as well. I've taken, training classes, and he's helped out with a few seminars. I actually just did a seminar a couple of weeks ago with Sammy Callahan from TNA,
Nice.
and he was
Yeah.
there helping out.
Nice.
I wrestled a guy a couple months ago. He's based out of Atlantic Pro Wrestling. Monty Aries. You know, we had a really good match. That match is up on YouTube as well. Rip Bison. He's out of Massachusetts, I believe. He actually just returned from a 3-month tour in Japan. I'd love to lock up with him. Alec Price. You know, he's not a big dude. He's one of them scrawny little guys.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get a piece of him too. So there's a lot of guys out there that I'd love to wrestle. So I can't just give you a few without naming a lot of others.
Yeah.
Hey, that's okay. I
Awesome.
mean, that's what we like to do here on this podcast. We're called the Wrestling Junkies for a reason. So we always want to know what's going on in the scene and who's up and coming, and who we should be paying attention to. But before we let you go here, this is a question that every guest on this show is asked. You will be no different. There's an ongoing debate that we would like your input on. And we think you might be the person to I think you will enjoy this one, especially you being an Attitude Era kid. Mr. WrestleMania, is it Shawn Michaels or The Undertaker?
Oh,
Yeah. It's a tough question.
Yeah.
well, I mean, Shawn Michaels is known as Mr. WrestleMania, but does Shawn Michaels have the streak that The Undertaker had? And I don't think that was the case.
He did not.
That would be correct. Yeah.
And you had 2 matches between the two of them, and Taker won both. So, in my opinion, I would say The Undertaker is Mr. WrestleMania.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing with me. That is
Hey, no problem.
that makes my day so much better. Now that I can shut him up for a while.
For now, it's fine. It's fine. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, tell us what events you have coming up and where can everybody find you on social media.
I actually have a show Saturday. It's the debut show of Maine Premier Wrestling. I'm going to be a part of a tag match against Tatanka.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I have a show in Calais, Maine on the 29th. Rumored to be wrestling a guy named Lights Out Lee Miller. And the next night, I will be defending the Crown of Maine Hardcore Championship in a rematch against the Hardcore Maniac, JP O'Reilly.
Okay. Any final words for JP?
Listen, dude. I mean, I've already beat you once. I choked you out with a chain, okay? You had to be carried to the back like a freaking war hero, okay? They're not going to be scraping you off the mat this time. I'm walking out with the title and still, and I'm going to be looking forward to new challenges because, I've already beat you once. I'm going to beat you again. There's no need for me to continue to beat you.
Hey,
I can't
I
argue
need to hear. Yeah.
I also, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah. I was just going to ask, where can they find you on social media?
They can follow my Facebook. It is just under Jason Maverick because I had one called Big Country Jason Maverick, but my old account got hacked, so I don't have that anymore. They can follow me on Instagram at Jason Maverick 812. And then I also have a Pro Wrestling Tees account. I have 3 designs up there currently. A 4th one is pending approval. So you can go online and get your Jason Maverick merch at Pro Wrestling Tees.
Nice.
Love it. Love it. I always
Show off
need
that
new
belt one
t-shirts,
more time.
JP O'Reilly.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That is a good
I wish
looking
this was
belt.
coming
Yeah.
in with you, buddy, but it's not.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to give him hell over this spring, and certainly looking forward to talking to you again in the future. So, we greatly appreciate the time.
Hey, anytime. I had a blast.
Awesome. Well, for Big Country Jason Maverick, for the podcast dad, I'm Mr. Cincinnati, and this has been a special edition of the Wrestling Junkies podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir.